Okay, today we are diving into a compound that is, get this, over a century old. It's got this brilliant blue color, and it might just be one of the most powerful and surprising ways to give your brain a serious energy boost. We're talking about methylene blue.
So let's just start with this wild question. What if a simple dye, something first created back in the 1870s for the textile industry of all things, actually held a secret key to unlocking your cellular energy, to supercharging how your brain works? I know, it sounds like something out of a sci-fi movie, but the science here is astonishingly real.
To really get how methylene blue works, we first have to talk about the problem it's trying to solve. And that problem is a kind of energy crisis that can happen right inside our own heads. It's what happens when the tiny little power plants in our brain cells start to, well, fail.
Your brain is an absolute energy hog. I mean, think about it. It's only about 2% of your body weight, but it chews through 20% of all your energy. And where does all that power come from? It comes from billions of tiny little engines inside your neurons called mitochondria. They're the batteries that are running the entire show.
So let's pop the hood and take a look inside that powerhouse. The way our cells create energy is kind of like a microscopic assembly line. It's this beautiful, super efficient system called the electron transport chain.
So here is how it's supposed to work in a perfectly healthy cell. First, electrons, which we get from the food we eat, enter the assemble line. Then they just flow smoothly from one station to the next. At the very end of the line, oxygen is there waiting to accept these electrons. And that flow, that movement, is what generates the power to create ATP. And ATP, you got to remember, is the direct energy currency for our cells. When it's working, it's a perfect system.
But what happens when that assembly line breaks down? You know, because of stress or aging or toxins, parts of this chain can get damaged or blocked. And when that happens, the flow of electrons just stops cold. Energy production absolutely plummets. And for your brain, that can mean brain fog, memory issues, and just a major drop in your cognitive performance.
And this right here is where our little blue dye makes its grand entrance. Methylene blue acts as this totally unique solution. It's like an ingenious shortcut for your cells when their main highway is blocked. So here we are again, looking at that broken assembly line. See? The electrons start their journey, they're flowing along, and then, bam! They hit a roadblock, they can't get to the oxygen at the end of the chain, and so energy production just grinds to a halt. Nothing happens.
So what is methylene blue's superpower? Well, it's what's known as an alternative electron carrier. What that really means is that it has this incredible ability to just swoop in, pick up electrons from one part of the chain, and drop them off at another. Think of it like a cellular ferry service.
And this just shows the solution so perfectly. When there's a blockage, methylene blue steps right in. It literally grabs the electrons before they even get to the broken part, completely bypasses it, and carries them straight to the end of the line where oxygen is waiting. And the result? The assembly line starts running again, and boom, energy production is restored. It is such an elegant hack for a complex biological problem.
Now, what's really fascinating here is that the benefits of methylene blue don't just stop at fixing the energy engine. See, when you restore that mitochondrial function, it creates this cascade of positive ripple effects all throughout the cell.
For one thing, it's a really potent antioxidant, so it helps clean up cellular damage. But it also acts as a mild MAOI. That stands for monoamine oxidase inhibitor. Now, in simple terms, this just means it can slow down the breakdown of key brain chemicals like dopamine and serotonin. And that can have a really positive effect on your mood and your focus.
But that last thing, that MAOI effect, brings us to what is, without a doubt, the single most important part of this entire explainer. And I really need you to listen very, very carefully right now. This is a critical safety warning.
So here is the crucial point. Methylene blue boosts the amount of available serotonin in your brain. But guess what? So do many common antidepressants, especially SSRIs. They work differently, but the end result is the same. They increase serotonin, so you have two different things doing the same job, dramatically jacking up your serotonin levels.
Because of this, you must, and I mean must, absolutely avoid combining methylene blue with SSRIs or any other medication that messes with your serotonin. The interaction isn't just mild, it can be incredibly, incredibly dangerous.
When you combine them, you risk triggering a condition called Serotonin Syndrome. This is a full-blown medical emergency, and it's caused by toxic, excessive levels of serotonin in the brain. It can lead to some really severe symptoms. We're talking confusion, agitation, a dangerously rapid heart rate, super high blood pressure, and in the worst cases, it can be fatal. This is not something to play around with.
Okay, so beyond the risk of drug interactions, there's another major safety check we have to talk about. Let's say you've already ruled out any conflicting medications and you're still curious about this compound. The next step is making sure what you're getting is actually pure and safe.
Remember how this whole thing started as an industrial dye? Well, the non-pharmaceutical grade versions can be contaminated with all sorts of nasty stuff, dangerous heavy metals like arsenic and lead, along with other industrial byproducts. And you absolutely do not want any of that in your body.
So how do you protect yourself? It's actually pretty simple. The single most important thing you can do is demand a certificate of analysis, or a C of A, from whoever is selling it. This is basically a report card from a third-party lab that proves the product is pure and confirms it's free of all those heavy metals and contaminants. Look, if a company can't or won't provide one, just walk away. It's not worth the risk.
And so we kind of end up right back where we started. Methylene Blue is this fascinating paradox, isn't it? It's an old industrial dye that's found this completely new life as a pretty powerful tool for our cellular health. It offers this incredible, unique way to restore the brain's energy, but it comes with some very serious risks that you have to respect and be cautious about. So the real question is it a relic from the 19th century, or is it a cutting-edge biohack for the 21st? That's definitely something to think about.